Well, hello. We are going to be talking about Google Slides basics. So even if you are already a user of Google Slides, maybe a lot of this you already know, but I feel like a lot of times I know a lot of things about a product, and then there's some of the basic things that for some reason I have missed. So I hope I have at least one thing in here that you do not know. So my first thing is I have a Google Slides. I've created this presentation that I'm going to share with you. And one of my tips is I always start by going to the File menu, and I choose to go to Version History, and I'm going to name the current version. Version history is one of the best reasons to use Google Apps. Now, of course, Microsoft also has versioning within their cloud product, but I know it is a little bit better with Google. And so I really want to use Google Slides over PowerPoint or some of these other tools because the collaboration still is better using Google. So I'm going to go to the File menu, Version History. I'm going to name the current version, and I'm going to name this my template. So what I'm going to be doing with you is I'm going to be interacting using this Google Slides. I'm going to mess it up, and I'm going to want to put it back to the way that it was. So notice if I move some things, I change something, I add a transition to the slides, and I'm like, okay, well, I didn't want to do all of that. I simply go back to the File menu, and I go to Version History where I can see the version history, and I have this template. So now I'm able to put it back after I've done all of these edits. So especially before I use Google Slides with students, I want to make sure that I use the File menu, and I go to Version History, and I name the current version. It does automatically version, just like Google Docs, just like Google Sheets. They do automatically version. However, having that named version just makes it so much quicker and easier to get back to that spot before you made edits and shared with students. And I'm going to put into the chat here the link to these slides. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the /edit on the Google Slides and replace it with /copy, because that will force you a copy so that you can follow along with me here. So if you'll open up your copy of the slides, I'm going to have you work with me on doing the elements of the Google Slides basics. So I have over here in another tab, and I'm going to get into this later, I've taken my presentation and I have published it to the web. So this is one of my tricks that allows me to see my slides in presentation mode and use the Google Meet and see the chat and my participants side by side here by just having the presentation in a tab. Also, this is a great way to share Google Slides with students if it is view only. If you have no intention of interaction, then using the publish to the web link is really the way to go when sharing Google Slides. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We're doing Google Slides basics, and I am Alice Keeler. And I like to tongue-in-cheek, and trust me, I use Google Docs. I use it for many things, but I like to say, do not use Google Docs, which is why we are here, because couldn't you use Google Slides? What can you do in a Google Doc that you can't do in Google Slides? I can add a text box. I can have students edit, write. It's multiple pages. They can do it on Google Slides. Here is one of my tricks. I'm going to do slides.new to create a new Google Slides. And if you so prefer the format of a Google Doc, no problem. You do File and go to Page Setup, and you change it from widescreen to custom. And if you prefer, you can do 8.5 by 11. So I can create that piece of paper recreation. If you're going to print, if you want it to be more like a Google Doc, you can create your Google Slides in portrait mode, no problem. That again is File menu and go to Page Setup, and you'll customize the size of your Google Slides. So back to my presentation, I like to tongue-in-cheek say, do not use Google Docs, because I can use Google Slides, because Google Slides is multimedia. I cannot insert a YouTube video into Google Docs. I cannot add multimedia elements, sound, these kinds of things. Everything else though, a lot of it is the same. Sometimes I do prefer Google Doc, and there are reasons to use Google Docs. But my first thing is to think, don't use Google Docs, because it forces you to be a little more creative and to try something else. So do not use Google Docs. We're going to use Google Slides. And at base level, Google Slides is a presentation tool. And as you can see, I am presenting from Google Slides. This is my Google Slides. I have created them all in advance. Down here in the bottom left, the very left-hand side where you see these thumbnails of the slides, this is called the film strip. So when I click on any particular little icon in the film strip on the left-hand side, I'm able to go to that slide, and down at the very bottom right, you'll notice bottom left, very bottom left, the right side of the bottom left is grid view, and that takes me to a grid of all of my slides so I can much more quickly and easily see and get to the particular side that I want. Grid view is amazing when you're working with students, especially when you're doing it collaboratively. So I have on here that Google Slides is a presentation tool. Google Slides is a collaboration tool. That's why I love Google Slides. It's much better for collaboration to collaborate in a Google Slides than a Google Doc. When you have people typing in a Google Doc, multiple people at the same time typing in the same Google Doc, it like moves around. And so if I'm going to do any kind of collaboration, I almost prefer to use Google Slides. I can have my slide, you can have your slide. As you add stuff, it doesn't move my slide. If you add more slides, it doesn't move my slide in the sense that I don't see it moving. I get moved down in the order, but that really doesn't matter. Google Slides is a collaboration tool, and that's what I'd really like you to put in your mind. I use Google Slides so I can collaborate, so I can work with others, that we could be on the same document at the same time. And I'm always collaborating, even if I only collaborate with myself. I have the Google Slides app on my phone. I oftentimes will be on Twitter and someone's got a really interesting math problem, and I hold down on the image and I save the image and I add it into a Google Slides on my phone, and then I get onto Google Slides on the computer and I build on that and create a lesson and an activity to interactively do with my students. Now, by adding a math image, and obviously not all of you are math teachers, there's lots of images out there that don't have to be math images that this is perfect for. I hope that you are making all kinds of things on your phone using the Google Slides app, because I like to say that the Google Slides app is like magical rainbow unicorn poop. It's just the best is the app on your phone. So make sure that you've installed Google Slides. But my intention is to add these elements to the Google Slides so students can interact with the slides, not just view them. So one of the key features for using Google Slides is in the upper right-hand corner of Slides, you will see that it has a share icon. It is yellow, and you will find me accidentally saying blue. The blue share button for so long was the standard. All the Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides had this blue share button, and they have updated that to more thematically go along. So it is a yellow share button in Google Slides, a blue share button in Google Docs, and a green share button in Google Sheets. But it's the same idea. You're going to click on this share button in the upper right. So I have given you a link to my slides. I have prompted you to make a copy by replacing the very end of the URL from /edit to /copy. So if you could join me and click on the share icon in the upper right-hand corner of your Google Slides. And when you click on that upper right-hand corner, you'll notice that the share icon comes up, the share pop-up box, and this is the same one that you would get in Google Drive, that you get in Google Docs, that you would get in Google Sheets. The sharing mechanism is the same across the products. And you can just type in someone's email address, and notice that they are default given edit access. If you don't want them to edit, you can switch it to viewer or commenter. And let me show you another little trick on here is to click on the settings icon right above where it says editor. And you'll notice it says editors can change permissions and share, and viewers and commenters can download, copy, and print. So if someone has edit access, you can't stop them from downloading, printing, or copying your document. So if you want to share your Google Slides and not have people copy it and not have people share it, make sure that you click this little icon up in the upper right-hand corner of sharing and uncheck those. All right, and I'm going to click send. I'm going to go back to the share icon. Now, by default, let me switch this back. By default, it is restricted. It is private. Know your icons up in the upper right. If it is private, Yeah, hold on. I want to do this. Restricted. That's what I tried to do. Thought that's what I picked. If it's restricted, it's private. You'll notice in this icon in the upper right, it is not showing the padlock icon because, of course, I shared it with someone. So this is indicating to me that this document is shared with someone, but is going to be private between me and that person. I'm going to click on the share icon. It's going to come up, and I'm going to change link to Alice Keeler. That's my school name. Alice Keeler is my school name. This is my demo account. Yours will say change link to, and whatever your school domain is, you want to click on that because by default it is private, as with Google Docs, as with Google Sheets. And you'll see it then has this building icon for you, and it's sharing at your building. So you have to click on the name of your school to switch it from restricted, from at your school, to anyone with the link. Anyone with the link, and you'll notice it defaults to viewer, and you can provide commenter or editor access to anyone with the link as you choose. And so now you'll notice that icon in the upper right has changed. So it's now a little man icon with a sharing link below, letting me know that this document is shareable with the link. Now, please, at any time, if you have any questions, feel free to jump in or put them into the chat. Were you able to change the sharing permissions on your Google Slides? Okay. So I'm gonna, hey.
Share it with myself?
Yeah, share with yourself.
Okay,
if you put in your email address that you're currently using, it doesn't make sense to share with yourself. So when I say share with myself, it's that I don't know about you, but I have a lot of email addresses. You have your school email address and you have your personal email address at a bare minimum, right? You have at least two. So share with yourself is to share with an email address that's different, but yours.
So what about when you go file email collaborator?
Oh, I love File Email Collaborator. I feel very strongly that you should use that often. Thanks for bringing that up, Michelle. I go to the file menu and I go down to the email option and it says email collaborators. After I have contributed to a document where I'm not in live time with someone, even though they may get a notification, even though it might show up under recent in their Google Drive, I want to do email collaborators. It not only explicitly sends them an email, you'll see this, can you check this? It sends to my collaborators, those who I've shared with, the email. I can put my own personal note on it. Right? Can you check it? Take a look at it. It sends them the direct link. Even when people share with me, like they share the document, I get a notification that it was shared, but a lot of times those are pushed down in my email. My email registers those as not important. And I oftentimes don't see those, this document was shared with you email. So when I'm ready for someone to actually do some work on it, I'll share it with them. I do work on it. And then I use the file menu and I email collaborators because I want to be really explicit. Hey, I need you to jump into this document. Here's the link to the document, and I can put a personal note. Unlike simply sharing it, they get a generic share email, share notification. I think this is much more effective. So I always ask when someone is sharing with me, don't just share. Also, please do file email collaborators. I'm much more likely to see it. And you can't tell, but it does send the link to that Google Doc in the email that is sent for the file email collaborators. Great question. Thank you. So when you share, make sure that you're clicking on that change link and changing it from anyone in your school to anyone can view. If you want to share it with parents, of course, you need to share it. Anyone outside of your school can view. And a friendly reminder is that all Google Docs, all Google Sheets, all Google Slides save to Google Drive automatically. There is no save button, and you can find all of your Google Slides in Google Drive. So the next thing to know is to add a slide. And I feel like while that is definitely a Google Slides basic, it's actually something people don't really realize is, do you see that little triangle next to the plus icon? So I want you to go to your copy of the Google Slides. Go to your copy of the Google Slides. And I'm going to come on down here. I'm on slide 8. And in the upper left-hand corner, I have this plus icon. If I just do plus, it is going to add a layout that matches the layout I have selected. So you see I've selected slide 8. It is the thumbnail in the film strip on the left-hand side. The thumbnail on the film strip has this yellow box around it letting me know that I've selected that slide. And if I just click the plus icon, it's going to add a slide with that same layout. It's going to add with the same layout. So, it has a layout with the box along the top. Now, if you click on the tiny triangle next to the plus sign, you'll notice that there are 11 layouts to choose from, and you can select a different layout depending on how you like it. Now, again, when I go click the plus icon, it's going to, whatever slide I have selected, it's going to add a slide with that same layout. So I'm going to click this plus, and you'll see that my new slide is the layout that I previously had. The other trick is if I'm in the film strip, so I have this yellow box around the slide on the left-hand side there in the film strip. When I push enter, it adds a slide of the same layout. I'm going to add a slide. I'm going to use this title slide layout. You'll notice in the film strip on the left-hand side, I have the yellow box around that slide thumbnail, and I'm going to push enter, and it's going to add another slide of the same layout. So give that a try. What you are doing is you're in the slides that I shared with you. You are trying to add the plus sign. Click the plus sign up in the toolbar to add a new slide. And notice that it adds a slide of the same layout. If you want a different layout, you need to click that little tiny triangle next to the plus icon. Click on the little tiny triangle next to the plus icon, and you get a lot of different options for what kind of layout you want. Now, I don't know about you, but I frequently mess that up, and I picked the wrong layout. I wanted it to be a blank layout with no what we call placeholders. Those are text boxes that are preset in there ready for you to type into. Those are the placeholders. So if you don't want any placeholders and you accidentally picked one that did, or vice versa, way that you're going to fix that is you're going to change the layout. Change the layout. So the way that works is when I've selected the slide, not the thumbnail, not in the film strip, but the actual slide, and I can't have anything selected on the slide. So just the slide itself, nothing selected, you'll notice that the toolbar changes. So notice here in my animation that initially the toolbar shows the paint can, the text format options, text size. That's what the toolbar looked like. It wasn't until I clicked away, just someplace blank where I'm not selecting anything in particular, that the toolbar does change where it says background and layout, theme, and transition. So I can switch the layout there. So what I'd like you to do is click on any slide, and then you'll see here in my toolbar, I've got the text box option, the insert an image option, the shape option, and the line option. I don't want that. What I want is to click somewhere where nothing is selected. And then it says, wait, let me try that again. I've got those other ones there. I was so zoomed in. Border weight, border color, insert hyperlinking, cropping, whatever. When I select away from any of the elements, so I'm not clicked on the picture, I'm not clicked on the text box, just kind of click on a blank spot on the slide, the toolbar at the top changes, and one of the options is layout. And so I can switch that layout. I'm like, that's not what I wanted. No problem. You can go ahead and switch the layout really easily. Now notice I've completely messed up my Google Slides. This is just me playing around and showing you how to change the theme, actually how to change the layout. We haven't done the theme. You're welcome to choose a theme if you want. You can click on theme, comes up, select one of these pre-made themes if you want to, but I've really messed up my slides. So I'm going to go to the file menu, and I'm going to go to version history. And I feel like knowing version history and feeling really comfortable with it is the basics of using Google Slides, because that's one of the great reasons to use Google Slides is this versioning that I don't have to make copies. I can keep using the same one over and over again. So I use it with students, I model with it, I modify it, and then I rewind it right back the way that it was. So I'm in the file menu, I go to version history, and I see version history, and I find that version that I named template previously. Remember, my first thing I did is in file, version history, name the current version. I named it template. So now I can restore this version. Now you don't need to do that unless you would like to. Give it a practice. I'm just going to kind of clean this up. So all those extra slides that I added, all the things that I demonstrated, those are now gone from my template. Okay, coming back to I am on the file published to the web version. So it is my Google Slides in presentation view, just sitting here in another tab. I think another basic skill is to know to lock an image to the background. There's a great reason to use Google Slides over Google Docs is because I can lock things on the background. You cannot set a custom background onto a Google Doc. So let's take a look at that. I'm on this slide here. Right here where I've selected the text box, you'll notice that the toolbar has changed. So I want to make sure I'm not clicked on a text box. I'm not clicked on a picture or anything. And up in the toolbar, you'll see that it says background right in the toolbar. So I'm going to change the background, and I can change it to a particular color if I wanted to. Background. But what I want to do is I want to choose an image. So this allows me to set an image to the background. I'm going to do a Google image search of the United States. And so now I have set as my background image this picture of the United States. Now, if you have, and so I cannot move it, I can't edit it, it is locked on the background. So as I want students to do things with this image, the picture itself won't move. Super important. So you can go to the background, click on background, choose image. You can choose any picture that you have in your Google Drive. I did an image search. You can upload something. Right? Whatever I've got in my Google Drive, I can add that as the background. I'm going to click on background. I'm going to choose the image. I can take any photos that I have. Whatever you got, you can set them into your background. Now, let me give you a trick. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come up in the upper left-hand corner where I have the plus icon and the arrow for the layouts. And the layout I'm going to add is a blank layout. And I'm going to design this myself. One of my favorite things to do is to add a Bitmoji onto my Google Slides. So when I click on the Bitmoji Chrome extension, I'm able to just drag that image right onto the slide. In fact, if you have any images on your computer, I have this YouTube logo on my desktop, and I just drag it from my desktop onto Google Slides. You can just drag pictures, drag screenshots, just drag images onto your slide. And so then I'm going to go to the shapes tool, and under the shapes tool, I'm going to create a rectangle, and maybe that would be where I want students to put something over there, like add an image or a text, something like this. This is what I want my lockdown background to be. Right now, it's not locked down. Each of these elements can be moved, and I don't want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the File menu, and I'm going to choose Download, and I'm going to download it as a JPEG image. I'm going to download this slide as a JPEG image. Now, why am I doing that? I'm doing that because if I made it in Slides, it's the same size as Slides. So it's going to fit perfectly when I set this as a background image. So I'm going to add a blank slide. I'm going to go to background. I'm going to choose the image. And in this case, I want to upload my image. And I'm going to I'm going to select browse for or drag my image that I just downloaded right into there. So now that rectangle is locked down. That Bitmoji is locked down. That YouTube symbol is locked down. Like all of these pieces are locked down, whereas on this one, they are not. They are not locked down. So I'm going to delete that. So here is my trick. I go to the toolbar, and in the upper left, I select the layout triangle. I choose a blank layout. I design my background, and I use the File menu and download as a JPEG so I can use that as the background image on a slide. So if you could please practice changing the background image on a slide. I'll give you a few seconds. And then let me know if you have any questions. we being successful? Able to change the background? I do have this zoomed in, so the full toolbar is not being shown. Let's talk about the film strip. On the film strip on the left-hand side, you are able to select the thumbnail image of the slides, and then you can actually drag and move those into a different order. So if you want to bring it down lower, you can drag and move those. I can also come up here. I'm going to, on the thumbnail on the left-hand side, Control-C, I'm going to copy the whole slide. I'm going to copy the whole slide. I'm going to come down here later in the film strip, again on the left-hand side, and Control-V, paste. I can paste the entire slide. So that film strip on the left is super helpful for navigating Google Slides. I can rearrange the order of my slides just by dragging them, and I can copy and paste slides. You can also copy and paste from one slide to another. So I have a different Google Slides. I go to the thumbnails. I select the slides that I want to bring into my new Google Slides, Control-C, copy. I come over to where I want to insert those slides in the film strip. So I click on the slide. I want to insert it, slide 7, Control-V, paste, and it's going to add them right there. You can do multiple slides. I'm holding down the Shift key, and you see that I've selected multiple slides. I have slide 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 selected. I Control-C, copy, and then I can come down lower, select another slide in the film strip, and Control-V, paste. So you have this ability to duplicate, you can select more than one, and you can copy and paste between slides. Now, is there more things that you can do with that and more features to know about that with like linking to other slideshows? Absolutely, but we are doing Google Slides basics today. And again, I feel strongly that one of the basics is really understanding version history. So I'm going to go back to that file menu. I'm going to go to version history. I'm going to see the version history, and I'm going to change it back to template and restore this version up in the upper left-hand corner. I'm going to restore it back so it's back to its pristine shape before I demonstrated and did a bunch of things in the Google Slides. Questions? Okay, don't be afraid to put your questions in the chat or to go ahead and turn on your mic and ask me if you have any. So we have locked the image to the background. Just a little point of interest is that you can right click on the slide. So I showed you how it changed in the toolbar. And remember, I was all zoomed in, so I couldn't even see all of the options in the toolbar when I had it. But if I right click, it does give me the option to change the background in the right click menu. But it's important that I don't right click on a picture and I don't right click on a text box, but I right click somewhere on the slide that's not selecting anything so that I get that option to change background. Another important feature to know about Google Slides is you have to add your own text boxes. Of course, when you use a Google Doc, the whole thing's a big giant text box and you just click and type and that is going to work. And that is not the way that it works in Google Slides. So in Google Slides, when I add a blank slide and I just start typing, nothing happens. And so in order to do typing on your Google Slide, you will need a text box, and that is up here in the toolbar. Let me zoom in. So you'll see that I have this selection arrow versus the text box, and I'm going to click on text box. And I click on text box, and I have to drag a rectangle. So I'm going to click on text box. I can do different size text boxes. Here's a relatively new feature. Kathleen, I see you made a chat, and I'll answer in a second, is that now has this automatic resize the shape to fit the text. This was super helpful for me the other day. I went to the Common Core website and I grabbed the entire body of text for what described that Common Core standard. It was a lot of text. And so when I pasted it into this box here for the subtitle, it should have gone off the screen. It was so much text. But because it has this enabled, you can turn it off. You can turn off the autofit. And again, this is a new feature, not a beginner feature, but you can turn off. But as long as that is enabled, which it is by default, it all fit on the slide without it shrinking down there. It adjusted the text size for me, which was quite lovely. Now I'm going to come back here to my slide. Let me add a blank slide. And let me read this note real quick. You cannot place a PDF in the background of a Google slide, not as a PDF. You would need to take a picture of the PDF, do a screenshot, and now that screenshot is an image of the PDF, and you can stick that onto the background. So I just have to do a screenshot. Absolutely no problem. So I'm going to create a text box. If I just click, you'll notice it creates a default size of the text box, which is very long. This is right? So what I want to do is I actually want to click and drag. So I'm trying to create a rectangle of my choosing. Where do I want to place text, and how wide and long do I want that text to be? Now notice, because auto size is turned on, my long text box became shorter because of this auto size icon. So I'm going to go ahead and say do not auto fit. I'm going to create my text box so that it's long. This one's still auto fitting. Got it. You can customize your auto fit defaults. So I do have it. I do like the auto fit in general, if you would like to. So now that I've turned off auto fit, now that I make it longer, it should stay longer. So be aware that the auto fit's going to shrink up the size if you have it a long length. Now, Control A is one of my favorite tools. Control A is select all. I select all of the text, and then up in the toolbar, I can change my font. I can change my font size. You can actually just type in here, font size 73 if you want. Type right in there. I make that my font size. I can change my font color. Okay. Now here's the thing, if I select, you see where my cursor is in the text box, and then I go to change the font. I'm gonna make the font Luckiest Guy. I'm gonna make it size 500. You'll see as I start typing, it types in size 500 Luckiest Guy. Size 500 is a little large. But it didn't do it for the rest of the text box. Let me put this in size 50. I'm typing in size 50, but the This Is Alice Keeler is still in a smaller font size. So in that case, what I need to do is you have to get on the edge of your text box. To get on the edge of your text box, and look at how that icon changes from being the editing icon, which is like a, kind of looks like a capital I, but it's a straight line, right? To where I get to the very edge of the text box, and it's this cross icon, which means move. So you can grab and move text boxes, but in order to move them, you got to get, see right now it's this pointy arrow. That's not going to move my text box. I'm going to need to get it to be the crosshairs on the edge so that I can move that. But at the same point, if I'm able to move it, I've actually selected the entire text box. And at that point that I've selected the entire text box, I can change the font. I can change the font size. I can change the font color. So what I'd like you to do is to please, right? I want you to click on the tiny triangle next to the plus icon and add a blank slide. Please add a blank slide and practice adding a text box where you control what size it is. So if you look at me using my mouse, what I'm doing is I click and hold down with my thumb, and I drag with my finger where I'm still holding with my thumb to create that rectangle size on the slide. So if you would practice adding a text box, that icon is right up in the toolbar. And then how do you change your font size, your font color? How do you move it? I think the easiest way is to make sure that you've got the move icon, the plus size icon, the plus, on the very edge so that I can then move my text box, or any changes I made are made to the entire box. Let me know if you have any questions about using a text box. In Lauren, I am giving you a copy of the slides. Now, the problem is the copy that you're getting is going to look a little funky because I've been playing with it. It's not a clean version. So if you wait 1 second, I'm going to do File, Version History. I'm going to see my version history. I'm going to choose Template to restore this version. And now when you press on that link to make a copy, you're going to get a clean copy without all of my messing around in it. Okay, any questions about adding a text box or moving a text box or changing the font? Okay, if we're all set to move on. And then I use Google Slides because I want to add shapes. I want to get fancy. Why use a Google Doc? Yes, I can insert shapes into a Google Doc, but I got to use it by inserting and drawing, and I just don't have as much control over it. It's so much nicer just to use Google Slides. Like, seriously, why not use Google Slides? You don't need to use a Google Doc. Let me give you a new frame of mind. Like, don't use Google Docs. Use Google Slides. I'm going to add a blank slide using the tiny triangle. Picking your layout, super huge. If you walk away from this where you feel more comfortable, like, I should change the layout, using that tiny triangle next to the plus icon, then this for me is a huge success. So now I have my blank slide and I have the text box. I have the ability to insert images. And then right next to that is the shape tool. I click on the shape tool and I go to shapes and I can create a circle. Now, let me give you an advanced tip. Hold down the shift key. If you hold down the shift key when you create shapes, it constrains the proportions, which means it's a perfect circle, it's a perfect square. It looks quite nice. So I'm able to create this circle. It freely floats on the canvas, unlike a Google Doc. I can come up, choose a shape, make a nice picture frame, use the paint can to change that color. Now here's a fun fact. Notice when I draw a shape, it's gray. If I select a shape, so I click on this shape, you can tell it's selected because it has the blue reshaping with the resizing handles on the side. Those are the little boxes. They're called resizing handles. And this little guy at the top allows you to rotate. So long as it's selected, you can see that it's selected, and you go and you create a new shape, it will match the formatting. So it's use that same color and elements that are on it. So if you would please go ahead and add a slide, add a blank slide, click on the tiny triangle, go to blank, and then practice using inserting a shape and inserting some different shapes. And I challenge you to hold down the shift key when you create your shapes. Kristen, welcome. Looks like you're on your phone. I think if you use the link, it might give you the copy of the Google Slides anyway. The Google Slides app on your phone is amazing. We should all have it and use it. Of course, the layout and some of how it works looks different, and I use it all the time, but it's definitely a totally separate webinar that we would use Google Slides on our phone, and I would show you some of these tips and tricks. So that's a different time.
It opened up on my phone.
Okay. And it prompted you for a copy, but I'm just saying some of the things that I'm showing on your phone, it's going to look different.
Okay.
Right. Obviously, the thumbnails are there at the bottom instead of on the left-hand side. The film strip is in a different location. How you insert images is different on your phone than it is on Google Slides. You can copy and paste images onto your slides. So you don't have to download them and then upload them onto slides. If you're on your phone, you can long press copy image and then long press on the slide in your Google Slides app to paste the image.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. Any questions about drawing shapes? Okay. Now, it's questionable how basic this is, but I feel like Google Slides, the point of Google Slides is to collaborate. So we want to add comments. Now, if I click on any element of the slide, I click on anything on there, you have several options. You can right click and it says comment. So it puts this little comment box on here. Comment, click on this. I can also go to insert menu. I believe it's under the insert. Yes, insert menu, and I can insert a comment if you want to do it that way. But my favorite way is to learn the keyboard shortcut. This works in Google Docs, in Google Sheets, and Google Slides, as you can add comments by Control-Alt-M. So select something, Control-Alt-M inserts a comment, and Control-Enter saves the comment. Control-Enter saves the comment. So watch me do this. I'm going to click on this shape, Control-Alt, and I'm holding down Control. I'm holding down Alt. I'm on a Mac, actually, so it's Command Option. And then I push M for comment. I push M for comment, and the comment box comes right up here. Now, rather than take my mouse to click on that comment button, I'm going to Control Enter, or in this case, Command Enter. And it's going to save it without me having to take my mouse to go click on that comment button. So if you would practice Control-Alt-M, insert a comment, and Control-Enter to save the comment, that would be really great. Kristen, of course, keyboard shortcuts don't work on your phone, and you can insert comments. It's just going to be a long press and add comment from the menu there. I'm going to go ahead and go File, Version History. I'm going to see the version history. I'm going to restore this version. And that way I can share this with Meredith, who just came. Thank you. Here
Is this version history, Alice, different from version history in Jamboard?
Oh, yes. Right. In Jamboard, it shows general version history in the sense of people joined and did something. In Google Slides, it does more granular as who added what. Jamboard does not show who added what. All right. So we're adding comments. Any questions about adding comments? We're able to get the keyboard shortcut to work. Control-Alt-M and Control-Enter. And again, why do I want to use Google Slides instead of a Google Doc? It's just more interesting. I can insert a video. It is multimedia. If I want to leave a student some feedback, I can leave them video feedback. I can leave them audio feedback. Now, the easiest way to leave audio feedback is to use the Mote Chrome extension. Mote Chrome extension. This is not an intro concept, but I've installed the Mote Chrome extension. I click on here. I click to start. Oh, apparently I haven't logged in recently. I am over the age of 18. I will do that later. All right. It would allow me to insert an audio file right onto there. There are other ways to do it. Inserting audio is definitely not a beginner skill, but inserting a video definitely is. Go to the Insert menu and choose Video. Insert and Video. And you have two options. You can do it with YouTube or Google Drive. So YouTube, I'm going to do bullets and numbering. I'm going to search. Here we go. Look at this one. It's mine. And this is actually my most popular YouTube video of all time is bullets and numbering. And what I love about this is not only does it insert the YouTube video right onto my Google Slides, I can resize it. I can use those blue resizing handles on each of the corners to make it bigger or to make it smaller so that I'm able to add these little elements to explain what's going on the slide for students who are accessing the Google Slides independently, or I can have it where it's full screen where I think that that is the point of the slide is to watch the video. And you notice these format options come up. I'm going to get rid of it because I want to show you how to get back to there. I have added a YouTube video. I went to the Insert menu. I chose Video, and I searched for a YouTube video. I've put it in there, and now I'm going to click on it so it's selected. You can see those resizing handles on the edge of the video. And when I do that, then it says up in the toolbar, Format Options. This is not a beginner skill. Inserting the YouTube video is definitely a beginner skill, and formatting it is a going further for sure, but I'm going to go ahead and click on that where you can see that it's going to play on click. So it does not autoplay. You can have it play automatically or play manually. So those are your options to switch. You can also have it start and end at a particular time. So the video is going to start at 2 minutes and 10 seconds and end at 3 minutes and 5 seconds so that it wouldn't play the whole thing. This is a really great way to use YouTube videos. I highly recommend that if you're going to share YouTube videos with students, you actually do it in Google Slides, because not only can I control how it gets played, there are no end ads. It doesn't suggest other videos. It doesn't have advertisements in it. And so it's a lot safer way to share videos with students is to embed them into Google Slides. But then I have the added advantage that it's in a slide, so I can add text boxes and further information about what I want them to do before, during, and after watching the YouTube video. Questions on inserting YouTube videos? It works the same for Google Drive. I go insert video, and you'll notice the option for Google Drive. So any videos that you have in your Google Drive, it's coming, it's thinking about it. I can go ahead and insert those in the same way. Just know that the sharing permissions are preserved. So if it's private in your Google Drive, it'll be private in your slides. Notice it just now prompted me and said, hey, this Google Slides is shared with this person. Do you want to let them view this video? I'm like, yeah, I would like to allow them viewing rights. But actually, I have my Google Slides set so that anyone with the link can view. Now, if I share this with you right now, you would not be able to view that video because that video is private in my drive, and I've just now given viewing permission to my collaborator that I shared with at the beginning, but any generic random person doesn't have access to that. So please make sure that you change the sharing settings of your Google Drive videos in Google Drive so that you are able to insert them into slides if they, again, preserves the sharing permission. So if it's only shared with one person and you share it with other people, the other people would see a black box and would not be able to view the slides. So if you would please add a slide, try inserting a YouTube video and a Google Drive video, and let me know if you have any questions.
Alice, do you know if Moat is free?
It is freemium.
Thank you.
And I believe that if you use moat.me/Alice Keeler. Oh, dang it. Moat voice notes. It's just moat.me. That's where I messed up. So just moat.me, and then it was /Alice Keeler. Yes. Did that do it? No. So how about /Alice? There we go. I found it eventually. The website is just moat.me, and if you do /Alice, you can get 3 months for free of premium Moat. So there is the link there for you if you would like that. Definitely not a basic skill for Google Slides, but definitely very cool, and I recommend using Moat. Okay, so now that you have created your Google Slides, the question is, are you using this to interact with as a replacement for a Google Doc? Great, we're done. Share it with students just like you would share a Google Doc. If you want to make a presentation out of it, however, you're going to use the present button in the upper right-hand corner. Now, when I go present, it goes full screen on me, and I'm able to see just these slides and go through them using the arrow key or a clicker to access each of those individual slides. If you hover on the screen in the bottom left-hand corner, they've actually changed this. They have updated the interface, so you can see it is much smaller and takes a lot less room. In fact, you probably aren't noticing it right now. And so I have a slide for this. So in the bottom left-hand corner, while you're in present mode, you can advance using the arrows to the different slides. I usually use the arrow keys on my computer, but then it's got this 3 dots down there in the controls. So you can open the speaker notes, you can turn on the laser pointer, you can exit full screen, you can stop presenting. I always hit escape though. That's how I get out of presenting. And you can autoplay your slides, add captioning preferences, and more. So if you would please go to your Google Slides, click on the share button. Excuse me, not the share button. Click on the present button. Please click on the present button and hover down in the bottom left-hand corner so you can advance through your slides and see your presentation options in that 3 dots menu. Now here's a fun fact. You can type a number and push enter. So 3 enter jumps me to slide 3, 15 enter jumps me to slide 15, 19 enter jumps me to slide 19, and I can push B to black out the screen or W to white out the screen. B blacks out the screen, W whites out the screen, type a number and press enter to jump to that slide. We good? Questions about presenting? All right, and the last thing I want to share with you is publish to the web. So you'll notice that when I click present, it goes to full screen, and that's all I can see. I stop seeing my participants in my Google Meet, and if I'm trying to multitask or anything, I can't see any of my other windows. So one of my tricks is I have been using this tab, which has the presentation in it, and I can still be black, W white out the screen. I can still jump 3 enter, 19 enter, even when I'm in publish to the web view. You use the file menu and you choose publish to the web. File menu, publish to the web, and then just click publish. It says, okay, I'm gonna publish, and you're gonna copy this link. This link, I just add a new tab, I'm gonna paste it in there, allows me to have my presentation in another tab. Also, if you have no intention of allowing people to interact, I recommend that you share with them the file published to the web, file menu published to the web link instead of the link to the Google Slides, as it just puts it right into presentation mode and gives them access to the Google Slides directly. So if you're using Google Classroom and you share Google Slides with students and it's just for them to get information, instead of adding from Google Drive, why not open the Google Slides, use the file menu, go publish to the web, and get that link and paste it into Google Classroom instead. And that is a suggestion. Okay, so that is the end of my Google Slides Basics presentation. Any questions that you have about Google Slides? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording.